Welcome back to the Deep Dives. Today, we are opening, I think, a really fascinating window into one of the most celebrated and, well, complex legacies in the history of global sport, the Williams dynasty. Our focus today, though, isn't on a Grand Slam final. It's on something much quieter. A moment shared on a home tennis court, which honestly speaks volumes about the transition from sporting icon to dedicated mother.
That's so right. We are diving into the world of Serena Williams, who, having achieved literally everything possible on the court, is now facing this unique challenge of passing on that world-defining passion to the next generation.
Right.
And our source material today is this rich mix of recent social media glimpses, and we're going to focus specifically on her youngest daughter, Adira, and then we'll juxtapose that with, the powerful context from her retirement statements and the whole history of the Williams family's blueprint for success.
And the spark, the thing that got the internet talking almost immediately was this one recent post. Serena, who's now 44, shared these really rare, kind of intimate shots of her toddler daughter, Adira, being introduced to the game.
And you just know?
Yeah, you just know that when a 23-time Grand Slam winner picks up a racket with her child, it is never just a cute photo. It becomes like the subject of prophecy, analysis, and this intense public scrutiny.
Our mission today is really to unpack what these very specific, very curated moments actually signify for you, the listener. We're analyzing that shift in Serena's focus from, relentlessly building that historic tennis resume to intentionally building her family. And we're exploring how that famed Williams intensity, that passion, is now being channeled into her role as a parent. We have to ask the question, how do you share the passion for a sport that defined your entire life, knowing that for your children that passion comes with the monumental weight of an inherited legacy?
It's a huge question. So let's start right where the sources started, setting the scene with this introduction of Adira. The visuals themselves are striking, but the language Serena used in the caption, I think that's maybe even more illuminating.
Yeah, the scene was clearly designed to capture this pure foundational moment. Serena shared a series of photos on Instagram showing her with Adira on what looked like a private blue and green home court. And she just immediately defined the whole thing with her caption. She wrote, "This is me sharing my passion for tennis with my youngest daughter."
That phrase, sharing my passion, that is just heavy with intentionality, isn't it? It frames the whole moment not as mandatory training,
Exactly.
but as an emotional transfer.
Absolutely. And the visuals, they really depict Serena in this sleek, black, one-piece outfit, so she's still got that image of athletic elegance. But the real focus is Adira. The source material emphasizes that the toddler was, quote, tinkering with rackets, and this is the crucial part, carefully balancing the ball on a racket, trying to mimic her mother.
See, mimic.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah, that's the word.
This isn't just accidental play. The source specifically highlighted the attempt to mimic the motion.
Yeah.
The significance of that one subtle verb.
Yeah.
Mimicking, you can't overstate it. A toddler engaging with the tools of the trade, trying to replicate the actions of their parent, especially when that parent is, considered a sporting deity. It immediately just telescopes the immense stakes onto that little private court.
Exactly. This post instantly connects a literal legend with a new generation that now carries that powerful surname. And the public reaction wasn't just, oh, how sweet. It was prophetic.
Immediate.
When a child is born into this level of athletic fame, the audience just projects all their desires onto them.
And that leads us right into our first major section, right? Adira and the dawn of a new legacy. Let's really dissect those projections versus the reality of sharing a skill. I want to focus on the power of those visuals and Serena's explicit intent to share a passion.
Well, the image itself, the greatest of all time, bending down, showing a toddler the grip, demonstrating the balance. It's a literal physical representation of passing the torch.
It is.
And by using the word passion, Serena is subtly defining the activity not as the rigorous professional requirement that governed her own life,
Right.
but as an emotional inheritance. For someone whose career was defined by this relentless discipline, framing tennis in terms of deep-seated personal enjoyment it's a profound statement about the value she now places on the sport.
But the public doesn't really receive it as pure passion, do they? They receive it as an announcement.
Oh, totally.
We have to emphasize the detail that Adira is still a toddler. She's just tinkering, yet the commentary is already skipping 20 years into the future.
That's just the nature of inherited fame. The public bypasses the fun, the growth, the learning, all of it. Our sources highlighted that immediate fan prediction, Adira would be the 2040 U.S. Open champion. Think about the weight of that. Before this child has even mastered a forehand, they are already publicly expected to succeed at the absolute highest level of professional sport.
That's just, it's utterly relentless.
Mm.
And it forces us to confront a really deep psychological question, which is, what does it even mean for a child to inherit a sport when their parent sits atop the absolute summit? Does having access to the greatest living coach, combined with the obvious genetic inheritance, does that accelerate their ability? Or does the unbearable weight of public expectation make enjoying the game almost impossible?
Well, it creates this almost existential duality for the child, doesn't it? On one hand, yes, of course, Adira has unparalleled access both to coaching and to just understanding what high-level dedication even looks like. But the standard of success isn't just reaching the professional tour. The standard is matching or exceeding 23 Grand Slams.
An impossible bar.
It's impossible. For Adira, a U.S. Open victory isn't some distant, hard-earned dream. It's a public prophecy made before her second birthday. Serena's explicit framing of this as sharing her passion feels like a really calculated, loving effort to preemptively mitigate that inevitable pressure. She's trying to install the emotional core of the game before
the competitive noise just drowns it out.
Exactly.
But this narrative, this idea of a smooth, inherited passion, it becomes so much more complicated when we introduce her older sister, Alexis Olympia Ohanian Jr. This is where the deep dive hits a necessary speed bump, because sharing passion does not guarantee it's going to be received.
Exactly. Olympia is 8 years old, and Serena has been remarkably, almost surprisingly candid about her situation. The sources note that just a year or two ago, Serena stated publicly that Olympia appeared to have clear tennis talents.
Which, coming from her mother.
Right. That's a huge declaration of aptitude. But talent, as it turns out, is not enough without desire. Serena admitted very plainly that Olympia doesn't actually like to play tennis too much.
Oof. That must have been a moment of profound realization for Serena.
It's the ultimate parenting challenge, right? You have the perfect toolkit, the perfect example, and the child just says, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
It's incredibly relatable for any parent, but for Serena, who is genetically and experientially wired for this sport, the disappointment must be just amplified tenfold.
And she didn't hide that emotional truth. She actually admitted that this lack of enthusiasm was a little disappointing. We have to analyze that word. Disappointing. It's not disappointment over a lost match. It's disappointment over the rejection of an entire family identity.
Yeah.
And the failure of this spontaneous legacy transfer she clearly desires.
This isn't just about a parent wanting their kid to pick up a hobby. It's about a cultural and familial imperative that stretches back decades. And yet, she hasn't completely given up on Olympia's resistance. The sources show that Serena is still holding out hope for Olympia and even admitted, we are trying to figure out a way to get her to play a little bit. And this is the critical synthesis point when you look at the two daughters side by side. With Adira, the engagement is spontaneous, it seems effortless, and it's described with the soft language of sharing passion.
Right.
With Olympia, the dynamic shifts entirely. The language is one of strategic difficulty. Trying to figure out a way. The task moves from organic nurturing to intentional persuasion and problem solving. It's a competitive challenge for Serena, how to gently win over her daughter to the sport.
That narrative tension is just magnificent. Serena Williams, who conquered every opponent placed in front of her for 2 decades, is now applying that same strategic focus to gently convince an 8-year-old to pick up a racket.
It's incredible.
The deep desire for her children to connect with the sport is so intense that she is actively engineering opportunities for Olympia, even in the face of that resistance.
And that engineering is necessary precisely because talent alone isn't enough. I mean, this deep dive really reveals a fundamental truth about inherited success. Talent is structural. It can be passed down. But authentic, intrinsic desire, the kind you need to sustain a Williams-level career, that cannot be manufactured.
No.
And the difference in acceptance between the two sisters might explain why the Adira post is so explicitly about passion. Serena is likely just savoring that spontaneous acceptance she hasn't yet secured from Olympia.
But to truly grasp the nature of Olympia's resistance and, Adira's potential destiny, we have to pull back and look at the history she's inadvertently pushing against. And that moves us into Section 2, which is establishing the foundation of this family tradition and the pressure that comes with it.
Yeah.
because the story of Serena and Venus,
Yeah.
it's not one of organic discovery.
No, not at all.
It is one of meticulously architected success.
That's absolutely essential to understand. Tennis is not a casual pastime for this family. It is, and has always been, an explicitly defined Williams family tradition with this profound cultural weight.
And the architect, the person who established the nature of this tradition, is Serena's father, Richard Williams, who's now 83. The sources remind us that he famously molded both sisters into champions, often using, well, unconventional and highly intense methods.
That history is paramount because it sets the default expectation. We are reminded that this history was immortalized in the Will Smith film King Richard.
Right.
And that film was so crucial because it solidified a public narrative. The Williams sisters' success wasn't just hard work. It was the execution of a meticulously crafted, deliberate, non-negotiable blueprint laid out by the patriarch.
So the family dynamic isn't about playing a sport for fun. It's about fulfilling this grand, decades-long vision that fundamentally changed the sport of tennis. When we look at Serena introducing Adira to the court, we have to measure it against the shadow of that history. How does the current attempt to instill passion compare to that original intense mandate?
Well, the original architecture of the Williams dynasty, the rigorous training schedules, the singular focus, the belief in world domination, it creates this foundational structural level of pressure that Serena, even as the mother, cannot fully erase.
Right.
When Serena posts about sharing passion, she is undertaking an active project. She is trying to soften the mandate's hard edges. She's attempting to shift the focus from the patriarch's strict performance-based plan to the mother's loving, emotion-based encouragement.
That is such a fundamental tension. Richard Williams created a blueprint of unstoppable force. Now, his daughter is trying to inject joy and choice back into that powerful stream of destiny.
But you can't escape it.
You can't. The
Yeah.
surname Williams carries an automatic world-class expectation of winning. For Adira and Olympia, playing tennis is immediately a profound commitment to a heritage of excellence, whether they want it to be or not.
And that is exactly why Olympia's lack of desire is so significant in this deep dive. It's not just an 8-year-old preferring something else. It's a quiet, foundational rebellion against an entire dynasty's history. The mandate is so huge that merely being good at tennis isn't enough. They are expected to be the best.
The best ever.
Exactly. That inherited weight makes Serena's current efforts to encourage engagement a very, very complex juggling act.
This analysis leads us perfectly to dissecting Serena's retirement mandate, because her current parenting choices are a direct philosophical reflection of the decision she made 3 years ago to step away from professional tennis. She didn't retire casually.
No.
She retired with a clear all-or-nothing choice.
She retired specifically to focus on her family, and the language she used was absolutely defining. The sources provide 2 absolutely crucial quotes that not only explain her retirement, but also explain the intensity we are now seeing in her family life and her approach to parenting.
Let's start with that first quote, because it really establishes the new priority, making it clear that this shift was a strategic, conscious choice.
The crucial quote, "These days, if I have to choose between building my tennis resume and building my family, I choose the latter." That is a stunning statement. It positions her new role not as simply having a family, but as an active, conscious, high-stakes building project.
Yes, that's it.
It suggests that the strategic, focused dedication she once applied to winning titles is now being funneled entirely into her domestic life. She didn't retire to relax. She retired to re-architect her existence.
I think that's the key distinction. She's saying that motherhood requires the same kind of strategic, all-encompassing dedication that winning slams required. She's applying her professional mind to a maternal task.
And that commitment is absolutely reinforced by the second, even more defining quote that illustrates her core philosophy. "I need to be 2 feet into tennis or 2 feet out."
There it is.
This illustrates the Serena Williams approach to everything. Total commitment, no half measures. The mandate of total commitment that drove her professional career is now channeled directly into her family life.
That 2 feet in or 2 feet out philosophy gives us the operational key to understanding everything we are seeing now. If she is 2 feet into building her family, that includes the intentional encouragement, the sharing of passion with Adira, and the strategic effort to figure out a way to engage Olympia. It's a holistic view of commitment.
And this commitment is reinforced by the specific context of her retirement. She also stated that she did not want to be pregnant again as an athlete.
Right.
That decision to completely sever ties with the physical demands of elite athleticism, It just underscores the totality of her commitment to this new life phase. She made a clean, absolute break, allowing all her focus to shift.
So when she applies that 2 feet in intensity to motherhood, particularly to tennis, it completely reframes the dynamic. She's not just a parent tossing balls. She's engaging with the process of legacy transfer, with the same focused commitment she once used to strategize against Sharapova or Azarenka.
Totally. The stakes may be softer, but the dedication is exactly the same.
And that explains the emotional weight of the disappointment with Olympia. It's not simply a casual hobby rejection. It's a 2 feet in commitment meeting a 0 feet in response.
What a collision.
That collision point is the new challenge of her post-retirement identity. She's learning that even the greatest champion can't command a child's desire. She has moved from being the ultimate commander on the court to being a nurturer struggling with free will.
That makes perfect sense. Her intensity, which was her superpower professionally, becomes the potential source of domestic pressure now. Let's pivot now to Section 3, focusing on how Serena manages and presents this new, intensely focused life phase. This is an athlete who has always controlled her narrative, and her family life is no different. It's meticulously presented.
Absolutely.
Serena is extremely cognizant of her visibility. She has proactively stated that her approach to sharing her children's images is judicious. She explicitly told the public that she saves posts only for special occasions or amazing memories.
Why is that particular word judicious so important in understanding her social media activity?
Because when she posts, the content is never accidental or random. It is highly intentional and always serves a clear, defined purpose. Whether that purpose is deeply personal, documenting a powerful memory, or professionally aligned, integrating them into her expanding brand.
What do you say?
If she chooses to post those photos of Adira on the court, it means that specific moment of shared passion is deemed an amazing memory, worthy of public documentation and thus public analysis. It elevates the significance of the tennis introduction beyond a simple practice session. She is curating the narrative of her legacy transition.
Let's analyze the range of narratives she curates, because the sources provide excellent examples of both the professional integration and the intimate personal glimpses, demonstrating the scope of her intentional presentation.
We have to look at the professional side first. A clear recent example was an ad campaign posted in March for her Janie and Jack apparel line, which featured both of her daughters.
Right.
This wasn't just a spontaneous post, it was a deliberate integration of her children into the Williams business ecosystem.
And Serena's own commentary on this shoot, it just reinforces that seamless blend of family life and business brand. She stated that this collection is all about family, which provides the natural rationale for their inclusion in a highly professional, marketed product.
And the descriptions of the girls during the shoot are fascinating, especially in the context of our discussion about pressure and desire. Olympia had so much fun expressing her style, and Adira loved being part of it in her own way. Both girls were described by sources as being naturals.
Naturals?
This showcases their comfort in the spotlight, which is critical for the maintenance of the multifaceted Williams brand. They're already demonstrating ease and ability in front of the camera, regardless of whether or not they like tennis.
That's a great point.
This comfort with celebrity is, in itself, a different kind of inherited professional talent.
So on one hand, we have this highly curated, polished professional integration where the children are naturals in the spotlight. But she meticulously balances this commercial presentation with much more intimate, spontaneous post, demonstrating the breadth of what she defines as amazing memories. Let's look at that February post, the one detailing the ocean dip.
This was such a clear contrast. The visuals described Serena in a sexy silver swimsuit with leopard print, holding Adira's hand in the ocean. This shifts the focus entirely from the professional brand to the spontaneous, unfiltered maternal interaction.
In the caption, it just captures that sweet intimacy. My mini at Adirohanian wanted to take a dip in the ocean. I could not say no. The language here is so tender, spontaneous, and utterly focused on the child's desire.
The juxtaposition is key. The Janie and Jack campaign is about branding and style. The ocean dip is about maternal surrender and shared personal memory with her mini. Both types of posts are intentional demonstrations that her post-retirement life, her 2 feet in approach to family building, is balanced.
That's a good way to put it.
She is controlling the narrative of her transition, ensuring the world sees the iconic athlete fully embracing her domestic role, while also demonstrating that her children are happy, comfortable, and well-adjusted, both in the business spotlight and in intimate moments.
And as we discuss this family structure, We have to acknowledge the solid foundation provided by her husband, Alexis Ohanian, the Reddit co-founder.
Mm.
While he may not be in the tennis teaching photos, his presence reinforces the stable family structure that supports Serena's priorities post-retirement. He is 42, and he is this consistent figure ensuring the domestic environment is supportive of Serena's intense focus.
His role is crucial for equilibrium. The traditional high-pressure, singular focus of the Richard Williams era is now supported by a modern, high-profile family structure where the focus is explicitly on building the family together. This new, more balanced structure allows Serena to apply her passion in a personal, often softer environment, contrasting so sharply with the harsh training grounds of her youth. This is Serena building a supportive world for her daughters to choose their path, even if that choice involves rejecting the sport that defines her.
This deep dive has shown us that a simple social media post from a figure like Serena Williams is never simple. It is a meticulously calculated statement about identity, legacy, and her post-retirement mandate. Let's move into our summary and maybe synthesize the key takeaways.
Okay, so we began by analyzing that central tension of legacy transfer. Serena is intensely passionate about passing on the sport, a desire demonstrated by her immediate organic engagement with her youngest daughter, Adira, sharing those first moments on the home court defined by passion.
However, we found the essential reality check in the dynamic with Olympia. The older daughter, who possesses the talent, lacks that crucial ingredient of intrinsic desire. This resistance proves that even with the greatest coach mother in the world, personal will is the deciding factor in continuing a legacy. It just highlights the difficulty of transferring an inheritance of excellence.
And finally, we established that all of Serena's current actions, the nurturing of Adira, the strategic effort with Olympia, and the curated social media presence, are entirely consistent with her post-retirement philosophy. Her retirement was rooted in a defining choice, prioritizing building my family over building my tennis resume.
That 2 feet in or 2 feet out line again.
It's everything. That famous philosophy dictates that she will approach this maternal task with the same commitment and dedication she applied to winning her 23 Grand Slams.
What stands out most profoundly to me is that the incredible gift she can offer her daughters, her expertise, her lived experience, her legacy, is simultaneously the greatest burden they have to navigate. She's created a new definition of commitment for her life, one defined by intentional, curated family focus. But that intensity, however lovingly applied, still casts its colossal shadow.
And that intense focus means every single image she shares is a calculated move to set the public narrative. She is ensuring the world understands that the fire that once commanded the court is now fueling her domestic and entrepreneurial life. She is managing her legacy not just through past wins, but through the deliberate public portrayal of her choices as a mother.
As we conclude this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought, something to reflect on that ties the historical, rigorous pressure of the Williams dynasty directly to the personal choices facing these young girls today.
The Richard Williams Foundation required a singular, non-negotiable dedication, that all-or-nothing approach that Serena herself crystallized when she needed to be 2 feet into tennis or 2 feet out.
So if the source material suggests that the Williams standard of excellence requires this total, all-consuming commitment, then does the sheer, loving pressure of having a 23-time Grand Slam winning mother, a mother who is 2 feet into raising them, make it harder, or perhaps easier, for Adira and Olympia to genuinely find their own 2 feet path? What stands out to you about how sporting legends must manage their own monumental legacy when it rests on the shoulders of their children? And how does that concept of sharing passion clash with the reality of inherited expectation?
The ultimate challenge remains: how does a parent who is the GOAT share the passion without sharing the pressure? It's a challenge that even Serena Williams must figure out one day, one post, one swing at a time.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into passion, pressure, and the enduring Williams legacy. We'll see you next time.